Go.
Hello, Luke Stevie. Here with me, I have Luke Johnson, Chairman of Risk Capital Partners, a highly successful private equity firm. And Luke Johnson here also has a very rich history of entrepreneurship. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a bit more about Risk Partners?
Risk Capital Partners is a business I set up in 2001, which was really carrying on investment in private businesses that I've been doing for many years prior. We have a fund with limited partners who are institutions from Europe and America, and we invest between £3 and £10 million of equity in businesses in the UK across a range of different industries. And what we hope to achieve is to double the size of those businesses during the period of our ownership. And normally we would look to own a business for somewhere between 3 and 7 years.
Okay, that's good to know. As I can see from your history that you have a very rich history of investments and entrepreneurship and a wide variety of businesses, and very recently it has moved towards consumer food companies. So in volatile market times such as like right now in 2011, what would you say is the ideal private sector area to invest in? Which industry do you think is worth investing in?
Well, I don't think there's a single industry that's ideal. I like food and drink because it's a staple. It's an area I know pretty well, especially the hospitality space. I do think having domain knowledge makes a big difference. I think if you're going to invest in consumer areas, you want it as, non-discretionary as possible, if you can. And clearly you want to look at value and make sure the multiple makes sense. And you want it a not particularly cyclical business, but a steady cash generative business that doesn't require too much in the way of ongoing capital investment. Ideally if it's got export potential, that's attractive too, to diversify away from your dependence on the domestic market. And clearly you want businesses with excellent management and strong franchise and so forth.
So I believe that today your speech was about the ecstasy and agony of entrepreneurship. Let's talk a bit more about that. I'm sure a lot of our viewers who were unfortunate not to be able to attend this conference here today would like to know a lot more about this. So with your experience, with such an extensive experience, what do you have to say about the ecstasy and the agony of entrepreneurship?
I think the ecstasy is all about independence, it's about freedom, it's about the opportunity to control your own destiny. And I think for many people that's really important. I think it's about avoiding the bureaucracy and office politics of working in big companies. And possibly it's about making, a substantial capital gain one day if you ever sell your business. But I don't think money is the priority. I think the motivation for many people who work for themselves is a view that they would show them. They would show all those people who doubted them, be it a school teacher or a colleague or a sibling, that they would never amount to anything. And it's also about creativity. It's about building something from nothing. I think in terms of the agony, well, the challenges of being an entrepreneur are pretty obvious. You take risks financially, you may not earn a good living, you make sacrifices perhaps in terms of how hard you have to work, and it can be stressful, the responsibilities of employing people and so forth. So it isn't easy, and there are definite trade-offs. But from my perspective, I believe those sacrifices are worth it. It doesn't come without a price, but I'm a believer.
You mentioned something about the ecstasy of entrepreneurship is being able to prove to others who might have never believed in you that you can actually achieve something tremendously great. So, and I'm sure the same sentiment lies in a lot of the people in our generation who might have had teachers or even close relatives or even siblings who might not have believed in them, but they want to do something. Would you like to share a personal experience in this region with our audience, because you might have proven a lot of things wrong?
Yes, well, I've certainly made mistakes in my career in life, and no doubt people have been critical, and I think one of the things you have to develop if you are to go out on your own is a thick skin, because there will be doubters and there will be cynics who say it'll never work, or you won't succeed, or you're wasting your time, or you're a dreamer, or whatever it is. And I'm sure it was the same for, Steve Jobs and Thomas Edison probably too, and Henry Ford. The fact is that the world is full of those negative people who will sit at the back and say, oh, you know, I don't believe in this. But actually the future always belongs to the optimists, those confident figures who stride forth and build something out of nothing. And, you know, we remember those figures who create something and took risks. We don't remember those doubters who were negative. And that's what you've got to bear in mind.
That's very interesting. I believe that you've also written a book called Start It Up, and I saw you handing out a few copies, signed copies today. Can you tell us a bit more about what the book is on and what readers will learn from it?
The book follows on from a column I write every week in the FT on a Wednesday, where I write about entrepreneurship, and as a practitioner I think I bring something different to that. And the book is more of the same, really, so I talk about all sorts of subjects around being an entrepreneur, raising money, working with partners, selling, the failures and setbacks, dealing with staff and managing people, you know, and I discuss all the challenges and the satisfactions of working for yourself and being an entrepreneur. And, you know, it's sort of part philosophical, part self-help and advice.
Okay, I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be interested in reading your book, and there is a lot to learn, definitely, because you have, as I mentioned earlier, such an extensive entrepreneurship experience. So finally, I just have a few questions in terms of for our students who are, especially at LSE, a lot of them seek to work in the financial services rather than seek entrepreneurship. So what key advice or what key message would you like to give out to those people who might want to seek a job rather than be an entrepreneur?
Well, being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone, and a lot of people will want to have a job, and that's fine. But for those who perhaps think they may one day want to be an entrepreneur, then why don't they start a business part-time, moonlight even, do it at weekends and evenings and holidays, and carry on with earning a living and paying the bills, but in the meantime developing something, you know, on the sidelines, so that potentially one day you can make the leap to self-employment, full-time working for yourself.
Definitely.
And, you know, leave all that big office politics stuff behind, and the satisfactions of being your own boss. And I think it's worthwhile.
Well, I'm sure a lot of students will find this insight useful, and I'd like to thank you for your time with us.
Thank you.
And we hope that
Good
you
luck
enjoyed
to
this
all.
conference.
I did.
All right.
And good luck. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is that okay?